Mahalo nui tiara, and to all of you for being here today, and thank you so much, Maui Ocean Center, for co-sponsoring this talk with Save the Wetlands Hui. I'm so honored to be here to be facilitating and supporting the voice of our elders and cultural leaders here on Maui, speaking about Maui's wetlands. So my name is Alicia Shanti Chauhan. I work for the regeneration of the waters in the ocean. I'm a consultant to Save the Wetlands Hui. Save the Wetlands Hui is a team of consultants including Trinette Furtado, Robin Knox, Emily Polanis, Krista Caldwell, Jordan Hawker, and Sonia Fisaro, sponsored by Pili Coco. That's an organization founded by Charlene Schulenberg and Vernon Kalanikau and other community members. And we are also sponsored by the County of Maui. Save the Wetlands Hui is working to restore South Maui wetlands in Kīhei that have been lost and are being affected by development. So we are recording this talk, and we will make it available through Maui Ocean Center's YouTube and Save the Wetlands Hui YouTube at a later date. In this evening's talk, we will hear mo'olelo, Indigenous knowledge practices, and restoration successes of Maui's wetlands. And these talks will be shared by our cultural leaders. I will introduce their names, and then I just will say a few words before I have you all come up and speak. So we will have Anake Auntie Victoria Kaluna-Palafox. Her kuleana is Ukumehame, and the Ahupua'a bordering Oluwalu. She will be opening our evening with an oli, and she will share some stories about that area. Trinette Furtado is a cultural advisor to Save the Wetlands Hui, and she'll share about traditional ecological knowledge, lessons, and successes of the Urban Wetland Restoration Demonstration Project, Lāʻie Wetland in Kīhei. Keo Kapu, a respected cultural leader, will share stories and prospects about Mokuʻula. And Cody Nemet Tuivaiti, a leader in wetland restoration, will discuss the successes of caring for the āina of Waiohuli Kai. So first, why don't we actually start with the oli and
Mahalo for this opportunity together, as together as one. One heart, one mind, and one spirit. As we move together as one, this should bring more knowledge, together with growth of wisdom, that we can gather together and share together as one, no matter where you come from. And just ask, and the reason why we're here is because of our Mokuʻulas and the things that we ask. And with that, oh, wana kia baikna ele, ihala ye ke kiyo bowe kawa o. Ena kino maluita lagi malue o e o mayana o ke akua I kona mauka o ma konoa Kawaii waila, e waiola, e ola noe, e ulu, growth. Growth in all things that we do. Growth in our lives and our honor. Growth of our lands and our waters. That we may be able to heal all these things for good. Mahalo.
Mahalo nui, Kīhei. So I was at FestPac this last weekend, and I just want to show you all something. So this is a painting of coral bleaching, and this was gifted to me as a traveling exhibition. And we are actually, you're maybe wondering why am I showing you this painting here. It was gifted by a beautiful woman from the Solomon Islands. Her name's Jenny Gwynn Tagini. And I'm just kind of trying to connect in why we're talking about the wetlands of the Maui Ocean Center and how everything is interconnected. So wetlands serve many ecosystem functions that include keeping the ocean waters clean by filtering and mitigating polluted urban waters from entering the ocean and keeping the stresses off of the coral reefs to keep the ocean healthy. Wetlands also allow for cooler waters to enter the ocean for the limu seaweed to grow that Amake Victoria will talk about a little bit later. So restoring the wetlands is a big part of the solution to help the biggest area of the waters in the world that provides us the most services, Mother Ocean, including half of the oxygen that we breathe. And this talk story connecting wetlands, mo'olelo, and restoration was curated because Indigenous ike, knowledge, wisdom, and practices are key to reconnecting, realigning, and regenerating in harmony with Mother Nature. Traditional ecological knowledge practices promote harmonious relationships with Mother Nature that have evolved over time and are passed from generation to generation. And at this critical moment on our blue planet, amidst the human impact polycrises affecting the ocean and climate, biodiversity loss, pollution, and more, it is key for us to bridge this Indigenous ike, the Indigenous innovation with Western science and technology for the solutions that are boring to be implemented. Nature does not see division, and she needs us all to come together to take action for the restoration. And it is going to take us all from multi-disciplines, multi-generations, and multi-cultures, led by Indigenous ike, because these are the practices and voices that carry a more direct connection to Mother Nature, who is the greatest wisdom keeper, and that will allow us to better restore the āina and waiohuli. So this talk story is just the beginning of more of these kinds of talk stories that will be bringing Indigenous knowledge to the forefront. And as we are so privileged to have this ancient wisdom present through our cultural leaders today, I encourage you to deeply listen and deeply connect. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce our first speaker. It's going to be Cody Nemet Tuivaiti. If you want to come up, I will speak your bio. Cody is 42 years of age, born in Upolu, Samoa, son of Raisela Tuivaiti of Papauka and Elaisaya Nanai of Falalatai. He came to Hawaii as a baby and was raised in Maui and currently resides in Kulakai, Ika, Ahupua'a Keokea. His Hanai families include Hapakuka, Kahalekai, Akina, and Nemet Ohana. His organizations include Aha Moku Council Okula, Malama Kakanilua, āina Kuku'oa. His profession is to Malama āina I Waiohuli Kai. Thank you so much for being here today. And this is gifted by Kahu Alalani, so thank you so much.
So yeah, I currently malama 46 acres in the Aupua Waiohuli Kai. And we've learned a lot of things from when we first got there. In the beginning, we were just a bunch of local brothers just wanting to protect some of the last spaces that we had left in Mokuʻula Kai, or in South Maui. And through time, we learned a lot from the āina. And we've come to a point where I feel like the āina has taught us many lessons. But one thing that always comes to my mind and I always try to think about is, what does it mean to be an islander? Yeah. And I want you guys to think about that as well. What does it mean to be an islander? So one thing I know is in the past, the rivers ran clean, there was a lot of fish, and the resources were abundant. And they were that way because they needed to be that way. Hawaiians were dependent upon their resources, and they were relying upon them. And I try to look at today in that same way. In my anthropology class, we were taught that we were products of our environment. And what is that environment that we see today? So the one thing that I try to think about is, how can we be more like-minded to how it was in those times? And as we began to malama āina, one of the most important things came to my mind was true kilo āina. This is the way we malama āina. Through being there day after day, time after time, we see how the āina works. We become familiar. We become familiar to the āina. One day you go into the ocean, you see limu for the first time, you go in there again, you recognize it, and that's what becoming familiar is all about. But not just generalizing it all together, understanding that each space has its own. When I talk to my aunties and uncles in these areas, they'll tell me things like, oh, Waiohuli? Oh yeah, that's where everybody used to go forget the loli. Or, oh, that's where we used to get this type of limu lipua. People would come all over from Maui to gather limu lipua over there. And so we think in our head, how come not just anywhere? How come they come to this space for limu lipua? How come they come into this place for loli? And what it tells me is that every space is unique, and it should never be generalized. And what we're doing in Waiohuli Kai is finding all those pieces. Yeah. We first went there trying to think, oh, we're just going to plant this. This is all shoreline plants. We're going to plant this here and just make them all native. But then we started to realize through time, nah, that's not what Waiohuli like. Waiohuli like uhawa. Waiohuli like akulikuli. Waiohuli like hipukai. Waiohuli like kalua. Waiohuli like ai. Because those are the things that Waiohuli continually show us. Even though we're just quick to plant things in front of it and just kind of not pay attention. But through the years, we decided to pay attention. We allowed Waiohuli to really show us what Waiohuli is. And through time, we've noticed, we've had a lot of people come through there and tell us, oh, Coco, this is so different from how we saw it the last time. The last time was all mangrove, kiave, flea bane. Now, you come over there, you look at the same ulivai, you can see the āina recreating itself. Yeah, we was helping, but I tell you straight, the āina did the majority of the work. All we did was support it and pay attention. The other aspect too that we learned was the politics of it all too. We know that in Mokuʻula Kai, we get issues when it comes to flooding. We get issues when it comes to erosion, things like that. And by us recreating these wetlands, by us showing how our āina can do the work, we can start to work with some of our engineers to say, you know what, take that water out of the mulivai, put them into our āina. We get the ai, we get the kulikuli, we get the kipukai, we get the sedges, These things were made to clean the water. You guys continue to put it into the mulivai and then push it right out into the ocean. All of that can continue to damage our ocean, our reefs. So it's given us the opportunity to show a template that works, which is really important. The last part of it too is the loina, is bringing Kanaka and āina together. You know, a lot of times they always treat these areas as preserves or bird sanctuaries where they close them off and Kanaka gotta stand on the outside and the āina gotta stand on the inside. But the aspect of loina brings the two together. And the one thing that is important to me is through loina will we understand the real value of our āina, right? Understand what a mulivai is, what grows in the mulivai, what comes out of the mulivai. In our mulivai we get o'opo. A lot of people don't even know that. This is o'opo in Kīhei now, you know what I mean? When I told people we had o'opo in Kīhei, they was like, what? And we could have opai there too, you know? These are the things that we're trying to figure out. But through loina, we understand our relationship to these things, right? We give our community a chance to understand their relationship to the ocean. And then coming back to that again, what does it mean to be an islander? A lot of the students that we've worked with have never thrown a pole, have never thrown a net. They're from Kīhei, which is an ocean city, an ocean area, but they have no connection to the ocean. So what does it mean to be an islander? It means that we survived and we knew our environment around us. It wasn't what we think we see, all these hotels and condos and everything like that, because you pull all that away and what you get? You get the mulivai that everybody been trying their trash in. You get the screens that are trying to reveal themselves. All of our native and endemic plants that are the resilience. And then, okay, now I understand what the Mokuʻula talks about. Kulani talks about this river in the sky. But deeper, Kulani talks about resilience. Talks about a'ua mai la'ua, kupu mai la kupu, aliko mai la liko. The growth of a plant. And how those plants continuously come to life. You know, there are 1,000 seeds in the sedges that we have. These sedges were made to be the seed bank. And so we gotta pay attention to those things because these plants have been enduring for millions of years. They know what to do. Our job, we continue to learn, we continue to advocate for these things because they're so important. And so, you know, it all comes back to that again. What does it mean to be an islander? Land management. How do we get our communities involved? You know, there are so many other entities on the outside trying to come into our āina, come into our waiplana, our moku, our areas. They want to take the funding. They want to restore our wetlands. But if our own communities don't see the value of what we have, then who's going to be around for the next 20 years, the 30 years after that? Our communities, when you think about what it means to be an islander, that means our communities, our village, needs to be the ones who understand what a mulivai is, what is kaluha, what is akiaki, what is kipukai, what are their functions? Then we malam our own āina. So that's the main thing that we're trying to do right now. We're trying to bring these three worlds together. You know, we're trying to slowly work with some of our engineers to bring some of that stormwater into the wetlands. We're trying to get our communities involved. Want them to know that this is your backyard, you know what I mean? This is all of our backyard. And it may not be the beautiful rivers of Wailuku or like that, or Eel Valley, but where there's water, there's life, you know? And our mulivais, our key is surrounded with mulivai. There's spring all around us. But where there's water, there's life, there's opportunity. So we gotta think about that. And basically, that's what I have to say. So,
Thank you for a very moving talk, Cody. Our next speaker is Trinette Furtado, Cultural Advisor for Save the Wetlands Hui's projects. Trinette is born and raised āina o Ihika Palau Maieva, which is the first and true name of Maui. A mother, a kapu, a street outreach worker, and artist. The mo'olelo histories and guidance of her kupuna inform the work she does on many fronts. When she isn't focused on these pursuits, she likes playing the bagpipes, learning and practicing la'au lapa'au and kilo mahina, and hanging out with her dog, Pony. Let us all give a warm welcome to Trinette Furtado.
Aloha mai kako. Before I get started, because I know that all of us have come from different activities, have come from different mea that has been happening today, I just want to briefly kind of ground all of us. So let's take 3 breaths together. Yeah, just, this is a wonderful night. Not just for the speakers that I am sharing this space with, but for the ike and the mana'o that you all bring just being here. So let's do some breathing, yeah? Hanumai. Hanuaku. Hanumai. Hanuaku. Hanumai. Hanuaku. I love that. Every morning we start our Waiohuli Kai together with 3 breaths together. Because as Anake Vicky has shared, as you've heard from Coco, right? If we don't know where we come from, right? If we can't be grounded, if we can't be centered, all else, all activity is this flurry, right? Is this busyness that we can get caught up in, where we start to breathe shallowly, where we sometimes feel lightheaded, where we forget where we're grounded, right? So in this huaka'i'a, e huaka'i kako, we're going to journey together. We journey together all the time, whether we know it or not. O Joseph Kamawoha La'anui ke kane, o Marian ke alaka'i honua kakalia ke pa'a, ka wahine, noho pulawa a hanau ia, o Charlene Delight La'anui ke wahine. O Charlene Delight La'anui ka wahine, o Leslie Frank Furtado Sr. ke kane, noho pulawa a hanau ia, o Trinette Kimberly Uilani Furtado ka wahine. O Vau o Trinette Kimberly Uilani Furtado. E ola ka ohana La'anui Furtado. As we journey together, when we know where we come from, we have the basis and the foundation and that solidness, that confidence in our ike about where we're going. And so thinking about that, right? Where do we come from? The stories that connect us. The akua, the mo'olelo of not just one area, but that encompass this entire mokupuni, that indeed encompass this entire āina o Hawaii. I am fortunate enough that the wetlands that I have been working with Save the Wetlands Hui, are treasured. They're vaivai. They're vaivai to me because of the very nature of this huaka'i. There are many examples of the huaka'i of Kīhei, and as you can see over here, long name, yeah, but sometimes we shorten them because that's hard to put on a driver's license, birth certificate, all of those kinds of things. However, within this name, Kīhei Mokuʻula Āina, right? We have Kīhei, this place Mokuʻula, which you're going to hear about, which is her home. Kalamaʻula, Kala'aiheana, her given name, as we can so far deduce from the mo'olelo, from the histories, from the ike of kupuna. She figures not just as a mo'o goddess, not just as the akuapili of Kamehameha I, but in this very active flow along the shoreline. There are many instances of, and not instances, but many areas where you can still see depressions that are smooth, that look like a place where perhaps a mo'obelly might lay or might traverse. Keone O'Io has several areas like that. Kahiki Nui has several areas like that. All along these shorelines, right? What does it mean to be an islander? We have to remember where we come from. If we're not from here, we have to remember where we are, where we stand. And in that standing, we also have to remember our tumalama, right? We have pilina. We know that we have these connections, and we're starting to learn in some cases about these connections. Some of us more readily accepting of others, but that's okay. Yeah, we all come to knowledge in our own time and in our own way. In the malama, it's very important to know what are the functions of a wetland. Because there are many areas in Maui County, in Maui, where folks are unaware that that spot is even a wetland because it doesn't look like a wetland, because it's not wet all the time. But that doesn't mean that it's not an āina pulu. Because we cannot see it now with our own eyes, with all of the development, all of the different activity that we've placed in and around it, it doesn't negate its function, right? It doesn't negate its kuleana to us. If only we remember our kuleana to it. And so in that malama, we talk about groundwater recharge. These are all the physical actions of āina pulu. But when we're looking at physical actions, right, there is this mauka to makai flow. Mauka to makai in everything. We talk about it in watersheds. We see the effect of what happens to mauka to makai flow when it is impeded, when there is too much asked of a particular āina pulu, when it is too much. So we need to find the ways that we can journey together, right? We all see that housing is an important thing that we have to deal with. However, that should not be the only consideration when we're looking to these precious pieces of āina. And within that, oops, where am I going? See it? It's not going. Oh no. This is yours. Perfect. And so, a little bit about Save the Wetlands Hui. We have been fortunate enough to work in some wetlands that are across the street from St. Teresa's Church, right next to Kīhei Island Villages. That area is known as Lāʻie Wetlands and is named so after the beloved wife of Kīhei of Maui. Our kuleana to this place, right, is through educating our keiki, our first line, is our mana, from educating keiki to, it's not as big, this is not okay, from educating keiki to workshops to Kilo Mahina, which we'll have this Thursday. There are so many ways that we're doing outreach, that we have work days, that we connect people to āina, right? We remind them what it is to be an islander. See, now it's jamming up because the book is all off. Where do we go from here? Right, there's kuleana, there's pilina to this place. As we see more development, more activities start to happen in and around these areas, we branch out. Community partnerships, agreements with current landowners, tu malama āina, for those that are unfamiliar with what's happening with the āina that they hold the tīnaki to, and continuing outreach. Times like this for me. Times like these, when we can all gather together and have the opportunity to share ike and mana'o and further our connections, right? Because when we are working kako, nothing can stop us. That goes pono and hawaya, so my puena that. And oops. So right. I'm at the hula. Come on, people.
It's actually still in Hawaiian,
Perfect.
but it's not showing. Well, they're in front of me.
Okay, so it's not showing the thing that I wanted to show you, but there have been many successes, and I'm just going to go over them briefly. In the span of time that Save the Wetlands Hui has been operating, from 2021, we have had over 1,000 volunteers through workshops, through keiki coming through on field trip days, just people coming to work as special groups and us taking them through. We have had over 2,000 native plants begun in our greenhouse that, thankfully enough, Hawaii Island Land Trust has offered us this greenhouse space at the Waiohuli Coastal Refuge, and Krista Caldwell is our greenhouse manager there. And as Cody was saying, you know, we have to pay attention to āina to see what it wants to have there. And so in this greenhouse, we make sure we have as much as we can so that we can see what āina would like. And in the area that we have been working in so far, it's gone from 5% native cover in that area to 95%. That's because of all of you that come out consistently. That's because of all of you that malama. That's because of all of you that care and want to connect. And so in the days to come, in the years to come, that's what we're looking for, that we journey together. Because as I said earlier, that's the only way that we're going to have smart land management and planning, that we're going to be able to take care of these areas that take care of us so we have less flooding and we are less prone to storm events. All of these benefits, if we only remember where we are and remember to ground ourselves. Thank you very much.
for grounding us in and really having us see how we can make a difference. 95% is awesome. So our next speaker is Anake Auntie Victoria Kaluna-Palafox, and she's a respected cultural leader. Her kuleana responsibility is the waterways and wetlands of Ukumehame, the Ahupua'a bordering Oluwalu.
Aloha kako, while she's playing with technology. E ho mai ka ike. E ho mai ka ikaika. E ho mai ike akamai. These are some of the language that we use within our household. And why we use these things is a starting point before we go out into āina. I have been in Ukumehame because Akua sent me there. And my kupunas with arms wide open, Ya Yehovah Kalaikini, Amena Tutu, Pua Nakai, Nahole Elbua is my ohana from Ukumehame. I have sat there in Ukumehame in this beautiful valley, learning and trying to understand of this land that is so beautiful, so precious. What am I doing here, Keapua? Why do you bring me here into this space? First of all, there was nobody else in that space. Our kupunas from time past that I had Kapu in Olowalu and Ukumehame came from these āinas. And with that, they have shared many mo'olelo stories of how they were raised. In today's time, our children prefer the other things of life. Therefore, it leaves the makua, or the older ones, and the kupunas to stand in our space and continue to do what we do. Ukumehame, for many years, we have always tried to take care of our river, to bring the freshness of the water, and trying to keep the streams staying wide open so that the waters can flow from Mauka to Makai. As the waters flow from Mauka to Makai, they settle in this space that today we call wetlands. Between Mauka and these wetlands, are they different? They are different by looks. They are different by growth. The other connections to Mauka and Makai, it's kanaloa, the things of the ocean. The stories of Ukumehame is very vast. Ukumehame, when I first traversed there, was to help the kupunas up in the valley to take care of the bai up there, to bring the waters down to the bottom where Kanaloa sits. Today, this morning, I was very surprised at what I was seeing as I went down to the front, right by the highway. And when I looked into that, if you pass in front of Ukumehame, this is the area I'm talking about. It's a ditch. It's not a ditch, it's an awai, an old awai. It has life within this. There is fishes in there that had come back. Why and how can they live in this space? There's a highway that passes. It blocks the ocean flow. But here, there is water that percolates and life is showing itself. In order to get this, you need the waters of Kane that comes from above, and you need the waters of Kanaloa.
Okay, here's what I found online.
In this space of Ukumehame and Olowalu, our mana'o or planning is to bring back the limu of this space, this area. The limus that have lived there before, when I was younger, and I used to come over the pali, you could smell the lipo. Today, there is none. Closer to the river, as long as fresh water percolates, ele used to grow there. Today, there is none. All these that I have lived there and I watched the rivers flow, the things that we look for is the o'opu, which in Ukumehame's river has 5. The other ones that we look for in the river is the hi'iwai that we put up way up on the top maybe about 5 years ago. We had to transplant back there. And we were wondering if they would be able to grow and traverse down. As we know, the temperatures of the water is very important for this type of growth. Iwai. Iwai is a freshwater opihi. It's a delicacy, and it only grows up mauka. A certain type of temperature has to happen within the water. And as you come down below, to closer to Kanaloa, to the ocean, there is hapawai, a cousin of hi'iwai. Same look, little longer. It grows in this water here at the end through the river by the mouth. The temperatures are different. So the hapawai grows closer to the ocean and the hi'iwai grows upper, the uplands. Within these growth comes the opai. Before, on the flat stones of Ukumehame by the river, there was many. In the evenings, you could see the red eyes on top of the stones. Today, there is none. I live by an opening where everybody loves to come and enjoy the river. But the things that we take for granted and we forget most time what we're doing, car washing happens in this river. Common sense things that needs to be taught, as Trinette says. Simple things in life of washing laundry with detergent in the river is another issue. So the county came and put barricades on 2 sides of the rivers. I am very appreciative of that because it helps to protect that. These things that we are trying to bring back, the caring of the river and the nurturing of these extended families, because everything has life, and life is all over, all around us, and life needs life. The mana'o of the group is to try to restore again the limu. Restore the limu from the pali going all the way to Olowalu. The reasoning for doing this is food source, 1. Food source for the i'a that used to dwell in Olowalu and Ukumehame has declined very much. In order for our people and all of us to survive in this space, we need to nurture the things that takes care of us too. Yeah? Ikahi. They take care of you, you take care of them. And together we will survive. Together we will grow. Together we will enrich ourselves and āina, because we are āina. We are āina. After we leave this body, we go back to āina. The nourishing of that is a circle of life. Ukumehame needs a whole fresh start. This morning, when we took that picture, there was fishes in there I've never seen before. Fishes about this big, 8 inches. They look nice and healthy. The water was beautiful, clean in this space. There has to be an opening to Kanaloa and Kani in order for the fish to survive. So our dream is to try to bring back all these limo to this space to help, first of all, to clean all the things, because limo has a kuleana too of its own. To clean all these things, and hopefully we can find all the veins that brings the fresh waters of Kani down to Kanaloa, and we can malama that, so that more oxygen and more nutrients from the ocean can travel up into the wetlands, because it takes two to give life, food and drink. What does the ocean give us? Food. What does the limo do? As food and medicine, there's two things. To enrich the lands with respect is why I stand before you. I am not a professional like Trinette. I love her. She's been doing this for so long. She has a beautiful daughter. And I cannot do these things of repairing āina, bringing back the limo that we need so much to bring life back. We need to work together.
Yeah.
We need to understand, where we need to go with this. Our kupuna has left many stories that I can share with you that will just open your eyes up, like for instance. In Ukumehame, you can see all the dried up pools as you go by on the streets, on that highway. They're all dried up. But if you go on the inside, there are pools of water that are still there. It comes up and down according to the tide. And today, because of our housing shortage, we need space to build houses. And we don't mention names of anyone, because everyone has a reason and purpose on earth. We wanted to help to build homes, temporary homes for people in Lāʻie. They filled up this hole, this puka, and they built 8 houses on it. I wish they came and talked story with me, because I could have told them that that is a pool. It's not flourishing and growing as much as today because of the piping that is happening and transfer of water from up Mauka to wherever. It takes away the vine and the river that we so desperately need to enrich our wetlands and allow our ocean to grow, so that we can have our limo and our ika. So with that, all I can share with you is that if there is a time and space for all these things to come together and allow us to work as one, it is now.
Yeah.
We feel as Kanaka Maoli, our apua and kupunas are telling us already. You folks need to stand up. You folks need to work together and respect one another, always. Because we need to survive, you and I, your grandchildren, and my grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren that are yet to come, if they are not here yet. I am a great-grandmother. I try my best to teach my ohana how to malama āina. And I teach them also, be careful how you folks play in the river. Don't take the stone and just throw them all over the place, because the pohaku has life. But pohaku needs to be respected. And when you move stones in the river, it only takes one stone moved to change the current.
under the water to change the design of our river. And the reason why I am saying this is that we have new people moving in, and all of us, we have great thoughts. Oh, I want to do this waterfall here, it's so beautiful, and I'm going to make cement, and here comes Auntie Vicky. Oh, hui, ikaw mai, what you folks doing? Oh, Auntie, we're going to build one waterfall over here. Oh, yeah? How wonderful! For what purpose? What reason? Oh, because nice and we can jump off. Think about that one. That is our kuleana's kupuna, to step inside there and tell them, Ahuli, we should have sit down in Lohoma as a family, as a community, and talk about this. Talk about this. Each ahupua'a is different. Even if we are on the same island, they are different. Each ohana in each ahupua'a lives differently. So their process of survival in time past was different. Same purpose, different process. We gotta respect all that too, as we traverse together. Even in my age, and my friends are just scattered all over Maui, when I go and I visit them, we get taro patches going all the way down to the wetlands and out to the ocean. Same thing, right? I have the same thing. Is the process the same? No. But we're growing the same food, we are malaming the same i'a, and we're growing the same limo. Why I say this is so that we all can understand that we all live on one island. There are 12 ahupua'as here. 12 or 18. My chief will come pretty soon and correct me. He's the right here. But what I'm trying to say that no matter where you go, if you have a one-style process of doing things, you need to speak to the families in that area. That is respect. And that would make all this even worth more, to enrich our ocean, to enrich our wetlands, to enrich the lands up above Mamaukas, in order for all of us to thrive. Help us all in saving Maui's wetlands. It is worth it. It is life. I mahalo you for your time. Aloha.
Mahalo nui for your powerful words and Akeviki, and yes, we definitely need to come together to figure out how we are going to help that area. It's super important to bring back the limu and the smells. What does it smell like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like to have that area be healthy again? And we're just figuring out the technology here again with this tricky laptop. I'm going to go ahead and read the bio of our next speaker, Uncle Keamoku Kapu. And Keamoku is a member and counsel to Ngā Papa Kanaka o Pu'ukohola National Park, Hawaii Island. He is also a member of the National Association for Interpretation. He's a member of Pohai Kamehameha from 2001, and a cultural consultant for the Friends of Mokuʻula, and presently the ROE holder to Malu'ulu Olele Mokuʻula. His previous experience includes Hui o Wa'a Kaulua Voyaging Academy. It's a 501c3 organization. The State of Hawaii, Maui Lanai Island Burial Council. From June 2005 to June 2013, Maui County Cultural Resources Commission, County of Maui Vice Chairperson from 2004 to 2008, Director and founder of Kuleana Kīhei LLC, an organization formed to educate public awareness through the protection of historic sites, properties, and the environment. Cultural advisor and founder to HOEA Incorporated, Hawaiian Outreach Economic Association, the revitalization of ancient fish pond sites, reconstruction of Pi'ilani Auwai traditional waterways, and at this moment restoring earthquake damage at Pu'ukohola, Heiau, Kawaiʻi Hawaii National Parks. He's currently serving on the Native Hawaiian Historic Preservation Council for Lahaina District as chairperson to the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. He was appointed 2006 to 2015. He served as an advisory council to the West Pacific Fisheries Management Council, WestPAC, from 2007 to 2016. He's the president of Hui Aloha āina o Malu'ulu o Lele Lahaina, the Patriotic League, from 2019. He is currently the president of Na'ai o Maui, the Cultural and Research Center that was formed in 2011. And just recently, the Hawaii Supreme Court handed a victory to Keamoku Kapu and his family regarding the kuleana parcel that his house sits on in Kapu'ula Valley, Lahaina, Maui, on November 28, 2022. So let us give a warm welcome to Uncle Keamoku Kapu.
Aloha mai kako. Well, that was a long introduction. I think you gave up about my 15 minutes. I'm really glad to participate in this because for the past 10 months, we've been working in the burn 7 days a week, 14 hours a day. And it's good to kind of come down to ground zero sometimes. So the reason why I say that is because from August till today, I think me and my wife only had like 5 days off. But it's good to have that opportunity to share with you because now that we're working in the Lahaina wildfire disaster, we're starting to see a lot of positive changes in our environment. You know, and I always say that sometimes bad things gotta happen in order for good things to happen. And we've seen evidence of that. So the picture I have up over here is kind of a reminder of all of us that this was once upon a time a pristine area known as Lele. It's Malu'ulu o Lele, the breadfruit grottos of Lele. And I live way up in that valley up there. So I see life differently than everybody else does. Everybody looks at the valley and they say, what a pristine place, I want to live here. I live on the top and I see totally opposite. I see overdevelopment coming to our āina. I see a lot of drastic changes that are happening. I see a lot of the water quality that comes from our valley disappear and be diverted for gated communities and luxury homes. I see a lot of the water that is diverted to the north that goes for hotels, accommodation for tourism. So when Cody talks about being a kilo, our family has been kilos for many generations, looking from the top of the valley down into the bottom of the bosom of Lahaina and saw drastic changes. And we still see drastic changes today. Just kind of a reminder, I like to get in the politics of things because, you know, right after this fire, we started to understand that Lahaina, the community only had 23% of the total cap that came from our West Maui mountains. 79% of their water was all private. It was all privately governed by private landowners. So I want to kind of take you guys a little bit back in time. Why all of a sudden our town basically changed totally opposite, which turned our town into 100% commerce and industrialization. Our town was the Venice of the Pacific, where waterways were all over that place. So the hopes of what we hope to accomplish in this revitalization, restoration, long-term plan on how we see Lāʻie once again can be vibrant is to look at the tools that we have right now. And look at the adverse effects of what actually occurred in our town. Look at why our town changed. You get Shaw Street, Front Street, Prison Street, Dickinson Street. All of a sudden, the character of our town basically changed to turn it into 100% commerce and industrialization. When actually the original names were Alanui Kamamo, Shaw Street, the way of the people. Front Street, Alanui Kamohi, the pathway of the king. Alanui o Pi'ilani. No, today they call it Nohono Pi'ilani Highway. Luakini, the sacred way, once known as Alanui or Nahi Ena Ena. Alanui Ho'opili, this road they call Waine'e. Waine'e meaning creeping waters, waters that protrude right under this town that empties out into Mokuʻula Fish Pond. Prison Street, Alanui Papu. Kapu meaning fortress. Then we have Mokuʻula. Mokuʻula, the altar of the lizard. I'm pretty sure we all have a relationship here in this building. Because when we were in the bosom of our mother, we had a tail, we grew legs, and we grew arms, which is known as a mo'opuna, a grandchild. So we have that simple relationship that we're all mo'os. Then we have Panaewa and Lainaluna. Lainaluna never went to the top of Lainaluna High School, it only went into the cane field, so thanks to the county, they switched the name. Panaewa and Lainaluna goes all the way to the high school. Kalima Pi'ilani, the vibrant Pi'ilani reef that surrounds Lahaina town from Puamala all the way to Mala. What a prime place. You have the capital of the Kingdom of Hawaii that was situated in our town, known as Lele. So, most important factors we need to consider in order for us to go forward. Lahaina was the original capital of Hawaii. Lahaina, we feel, still is the capital of Hawaii. If you come to Lahaina town, you can see all these banners and flags all over the place. Why? Because our people are looking for more hope. Our people are giving up within the system of what is happening now today. That's why those banners are flying. That's why these things are happening. And believe it or not, in 1993, President Clinton signed an apology bill, Public Law 103-150, admitting the United States illegal occupation was illegal. These are the kind of things we gotta live on. So I think one of the introductions of what I'm all about is I'm not just all those things, but I'm the biggest radical advocate, I would say, probably still today. And we gotta kind of be those kind of things that start paying attention to our environment or what is happening. Lāʻie became the epicenter for politics, innovation, and trade. Our town was too small for that. We didn't have a big harbor. We had Maui, but that disappeared fast. The most important thing that actually happened in our town was in 1843 to 1848 when the Mahele awarded properties in the form of a land commission award, royal patent, to heirs, original heirs from the time of the crown. The benefit of that, I live in a valley, I don't pay taxes for my property because of that. My property is not a TMK, it's a land commission award. Āina led Hawaii by creating and adopting the first constitution, the Constitution of Kaluna-Palafox. Kaluna-Palafox was a fish pond. Kīhei wrote the Constitution of Kaluna-Palafox to protect the minnows from being eaten from the big fish. That fish pond is way more important than any other fish pond in Āina. Even the Bill of Rights was signed here in Lahaina town. A lot of these things that actually occurred, not very many people, well enough the tourists that come to our town, even know the deep depth history of Lahaina. When they come, get off the plane, go to the hotel, order a Mai Tai and have suntans on the beach. Then we gotta start changing that narrative to educate a lot of the visitors well enough, our own residences, of what actually happened in this town. This is our rendition of how it was when Mokuʻula was president. We had these fish ponds. And this was the fish pond that Kīhei wrote in his constitution, naming it the Constitution of Kaluna-Palafox. This little fish pond alongside that roadway known as Alanui Kamoi. So if you know how fish ponds work, you put the little fish in the fish pond, you feed the fish, they get fat and abundant, then you put the bigger fish, you put it in the other fish pond. This is Loko Nalehu. Loko Nalehu is actually an underground parking lot that still has water today. And that water has always been there. And with the genius of those property landowners, they have a pump running 24 hours a day to make sure that that parking lot didn't fill up. Well, now that everything is gone, the water is returned. But Kaluna-Palafox is where Kīhei is, so that brown building is where the Halepula was. The Halepula was the House of the Iron Roof, which was the capital of the kingdom. Imagine Kīhei staring out the window, looking at that little fish pond, writing the Constitution of Kaluna-Palafox. You know, I got involved in all this, I would say about 22 years ago, when I met Akoni Akana, one of the founders of the Friends of Mokuʻula. And I always stayed persistent on the beliefs that he knew that one day we needed to start looking at our resources, because if that boats and planes ever stopped coming, then we're going to be in dire straits. That was always the vision of what our people always had, to not be dependent on anybody else but ourselves, to go forward, to thrive out, to look at our environment, to look at our resources for the benefit of our future generations. If we don't do that now, this fire is a reminder for us. Our town may not be able to come back ever. Our town will change forever. No matter what we do, we gotta think about those things. Loko o mokohinia. Puhinia, the fat, abundant lizard. Mokohinia. The problem with that area is called Mokohinia Park. we need to change the name to Mokuʻula Fish Pond. Then we can start in the right direction. Other fish ponds, Loko Okalala. There's about a total of 8 fish ponds within that town. And I will name them all. In fact, there was one fish pond, and all of a sudden, from the debris removal and the scraping, they found an existing fish pond under the rubble. Loko kalua eho. Loko nāleo. Loko mokuhinia. Loko puako. Loko keawaiki. Loko o ho'olili. And loko kalolo. All these fish ponds were covered. Why? In order to turn our town into the capital of tourism, all these things needed to disappear. The only thing within our town that talks about any of the history of the capital of the kingdom is in the form of an 18 by 24 plaque. The courthouse, built by the Kawi 1847. The prison, built by Kawi in 1847. How ironic, our kingdom built a courthouse and a prison. Why? Then we got too many inebriated sailors that came off of a whaleboat and forgot their sense of place, so what a prime place to get. Put them in a courthouse and directly in a prison. These are the kind of things that actually occurred in our town. We need to start changing the narrative and start bringing the light back to our town and give the credit where the credit belongs. Our town was placed in the National Historic Registry in 1976. But what was that? Was it the courthouse? Was it the prison? Or was it just those 2 signs on the highway that said, "Welcome to the Kingdom of Hawaii"? Our town was covered up. Now we have an opportunity to do things right. Now, if you're looking at a long-term, vibrant plan, we need to involve everyone, the community. When you start talking about this culture corridor, man, that's only the inkling of a vision that if we don't come together to figure out what that is, our town is not going to bounce back. No. So we have possible resources here. I'm advocating to bring back the loko of Kulu'ehu because that fish pond is way more important because it talks about our identity and character of a people that was able to survive on our own. Now that these things are gone, our values, our children are losing their sense of place and dignity. So let's talk about that. When we start talking about vibrant wetland and start talking about that, we've got to talk about the history, about what comes of it once these things are done. So it's kind of a challenge I put out there to everybody. And despite, I even tell the governor, we need to slow down. Let's take care of our residents first before we start talking about bringing back Mokuʻula. Mokuʻula gonna come, and it needs to come one step at a time. We can't rush it. I hear a lot of gossip out there in the community. Say Mokuʻula has to return. But if I was to tell you that when that fish pond was buried, it was buried from dirt that came from Kaiōʻo. Kaiōʻo was a battlefield where Kalani Oku'u met Alapa'i Nui. All that lepo in 1915, Health Department says they need to bury this fish pond of Loko Mokuhinia because of the pestilence of mosquitoes. So, in 1917, the dirt came from Kaiō'o, from Pu'ukeka'a to Honokowai Point, that area known as Airport Beach. Tons and tons of dirt came by truck and delivered by train. In 1917, that big fish pond with the island was buried. The fear of bringing that fish pond back, or what can actually be found in there. So we talk about the vibrantness, but we gotta talk about the problem too. The amount of burials that may be in that fish pond we need to think about. Because if they came from Kaiō'o, Kaiō'o was a battlefield. And if we're talking about tons and tons of dirt, then we may find ourselves in a pickle. Concentrate on a small fish pond because that is what Kaui Keoli was talking about, to protect the minnows from being eaten from the big fish. He's talking about all of us. We need to think of ways to be vibrant, to be steadfast, to onipa'a, to kupa'a kako. If that doesn't happen, we need to look within ourselves, because everybody talking about how vibrant we're going to bring this town back. We just want this town back the way it was. No, I think we should think a little bit more better than that and making sure that this town is way better than it was. But there's a lot of precautions we need to think about too. We need to think about not just ourselves, but our future generations tomorrow. And the guidance can come from our kupuna. Without the knowledge from our kupuna to tell us how we need to go forward, we need to walk quiet, not run. And I think this county, as well as the state, is running too fast. And they gotta slow down. They gotta listen to our kupuna. They gotta listen to all our kanaka. Then we can listen to each other. I like a good debate. I'm always for a good debate. But to find positive resolves when we go forward. This can be a positive dream. We just gotta make sure we get the right people at the table and the right people who know the history of the place that actually happened, so we can go forward united as one, with visions that will be bountiful for future generations tomorrow. Ea Hawaii moko kea weka ea kalai puka maila e ayala Maui no hole pilani nui a kamakau na no e ale a kala puka maila ke keki a kana loa 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 kalai a hana hana ke alai daidi hiki a kula no ila na I kaula la au kua e la ke aloha au pu'upe Ui ke kapu ma moloka I o moloka I la I tapuli o I o aho ke one o kakui he wa kui vale o ka ali kalani Hali a kanani ma kaua I o mano kalani po mano ke one a ono hili Pili mai lao ni I hau ta aina o ka helela ni ka aina I uhi a ta pupu e Makua lani hona kamala o na kamole o lule hua male hua kalai na po anai. I say this kahea because all those islands came to Lahaina. In Waiohuli Church we have a king that is dominant to Kauai. Kaumoali'i is also buried at Waiohuli with Keopuolani. All the kings that were amongst our āina, Chikohawaii, Paina, throughout the state of Hawaii has come to this place. I honor them. I honor them for giving us the vision of going forward. It's sad that a lot of us will bite the poison apple. But we can make a difference. United, as I said, together as one. We are the visions. We are the visionaries. Let's start dreaming big. If not, step aside and let us go for it. All of us.
Mahalo nui loa, Uncle Kapu. I think that we have some time for questions. Thank you so much for all of you, all of our speakers, all of our cultural leaders, bringing us into the fold of how we can come together and work together. That is the answer, and each of us can make a difference. So, yeah, if anyone is feeling the call to ask any questions, we've got the mics.
When it comes to fully aware that there's multiple species, I got my degree on aquaculture and trying to get some other people on that. And when it comes to multiplying the ocean, it's not an easy process when it comes to finding funding, finding land, finding fresh water. So, fully aware of the problem of all the water diversion, what's the talk on water rights right now so that we actually can multiply the fish and have our own water resources for the people? Because, I don't know if this is brought up, but there was the water reclamation for āina and the rights, people's water rights over there that was happening at that time. And since the courthouse has been burnt down, what's going to be the next step for people claiming our water rights back?
Okay. You're in my right direction, buddy. So, from 2017, the kuleana from Komohana actually advocated with the State Water Commission to put water back in our streets. The in-stream flow standard was set for Ukumehame, 2 million gallons of water needed to go back in the river. Olowalu, 2 million gallons go back in the river. When it came to Lāʻie, only 385 gallons of water back to the river, and they said, forget about Lāʻie, not enough water. We advocated, saying that if there is any possibility to put an in-stream flow in Lāʻie, it needs to be done. Kalaula Valley, 3.64 million gallons of water needed to go back into the river. Why? We need to recharge our aquifer. And the picture that I showed about those fish ponds, when I say Waine'e, the water is percolating on the ground. And it's filled up. The whole town is vibrant now that the well is burnt down. So because of those 3 wells that only were for commercial use, we went to the State Water Commission to ask them to condemn those wells to make sure that the residents come first before the commercials can use those wells. Second, in 2017, all the way to 2019, the in-stream flow standard was set for Komohana. And that's including all the way from Hawaii, Honoho'au. The next step we needed to do, when I talked about the 23% of water that the residents had and everything else was privatized, the next step we asked for the state to stop taking more responsibility to have Komohana turn into a state water management area. Meaning that everybody needs to be accountable for the amount of water that they're using. To find out, you had private landowners that were over exceeding the amount of water that they had. So now the state is mandated to make sure that everybody, like for my house, I'm a kuleana, right? I'm supposed to get these waters from my Lāʻie. I had once 27 Lāʻies in my property. I'm down to 9, which only tells me that somebody hoarding all the water for themselves. So the reason why the state management is important because somebody needs to regulate the consumption of that water that's coming from the private sector. And the county also looking at 3 primary well sites in Lahaina. I think maybe they're down to 2. I'm really proactive when it comes to water. Why? Liquor is for drinking, water is for fighting, and I'm not drinking. So I may as well fight. Right now, the petition for water, especially the lawsuits, I'm no longer standing in that line in front of the judge. In fact, just to let everybody know, we got petition to go to court again from that individual that claimed, the ownership of our valley. So they're taking me to court again. That's my whole life. But to really answer your question, I think that's where it starts. Get the water right back into the area of where it's from, and we gotta advocate. The Komohana kuleanas on the west side advocated to make sure that we put the water back in the stream so we can take care of our environment.
Who is starting to become a little bit more, I'm not trying to say endangered, but yes. And if we can claim it as an endangered species and use it as a means of claiming water, not only for the people, but also for the land. You know, if we say that, you know, these streams used to be populated by local fish, there used to be, let's say, 100 local fish per mile. We need to be not just putting water back in the rivers, we also got to be putting fish back in the rivers. So, I mean, in France and other places all across the world, they do fish repopulation. You know, and I think that's also something that needs to be looked at when it comes to taking care of the waterways, because there's not enough people to take care of the waterways. I live on the top of Maliko Gulch. Back in the day, there was thousands of people that would be working up and down that line. Nowadays, we got the eucalyptus trees polluting the water, and there's no more fish in the water. So how are we going to take care of the riverbeds over there? Aqua is becoming a repeat of Lahaina. So, we got to take the lessons of Lahaina and also bring them up as well, right?
Yeah. So we're looking at all different opportunities, especially with community schools now dedicating 1,000 acres for a reforestation project in Lahaina. That's one positive step. But if we start thinking about putting water back in the river, it also contributes to a lot of the fauna and species, especially when it comes to the protection and preservation of those resources within the fabric of the law. The state has to take more of a responsible role. We cannot be the only ones to, 25 years I've advocated in front of the State Water Commission, I advocated in front of the county to start looking at these crucial kind of things to make sure we're going in the right direction. So that's why, with the water back in the river, recharge the aquifer, bring the Waiohuli Kai back, all those things will come back automatic. Right now, the water is cut off. It's not going Maui, so how can the Oku make its way upstream if the water not coming down from the river? How can all these polyps in the ocean, the ko'a, all these things, these nutrients that live within that Waiohuli Kai where he taken care of. If no more that continual flow of Maui, then our resources are going to disappear. Why I know, as I said, on the West Pacific Regional Management Council for Fisheries. That's a federal agency. So being based in those kind of things, when you talk about traditional resource management, talking about generational knowledge from the kupuna that we have over here that teaches us the values of what we need to do, where we need to go, we cannot separate those things. Because if we divorce ourselves from our kupuna, we're divorcing ourselves from our environment. That's really important. We gotta think about. We cannot only think about science. We gotta think about everything that we have a relationship to. The snails, the ants, the little